I'm Bill Kassel, and this is Free Expression. This program is all about conveying the Christian message from a Catholic point of view and defending the liberty which makes it possible to do that. We discuss a small group of Catholic colleges that are revitalizing the church, and we look at a kids' book series about an order of very quirky nuns. Join us, sit back, and enjoy some free expression. These are tough times in the world of higher education, caught in a squeeze between high operating costs, declining numbers of young people, and a growing trend toward trade schools and online learning. Numerous colleges have actually shut down. A lot more closings are expected. And the schools that remain appear to be infested with radicalism, gender ideology, and an overall wokeness. This situation parallels declines in religious affiliation, especially in the Catholic community. The Church is experiencing widespread rejection of its traditional teachings, a severe fall-off in mass attendance, and increasing losses in parish membership. There is what you might call a confluence between academia and religion, and it offers some glimmers of hope. A small group of Catholic colleges has opened in recent years. Others that have been around for a while are suddenly growing in prominence, and this new vibrancy in higher education is having a positive effect on the life of the Church. Sociologist Anne Hendershot from the Franciscan University of Steubenville examines this development in her new book, A Lamp in the Darkness: How Faithful Catholic Colleges Are Helping to Save the Church. Anne, thanks very much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to come on and talk about this because I think people should be very hopeful, because I certainly am. I've been at Franciscan for the past almost 12 years now and love it. So I'm happy to talk about that.
Well, now, if there's one thing that Catholic parents fear, it's that they'll send their kids off to college and all those years of Catholic upbringing will be just wiped away. You offer a hopeful note that this isn't necessarily the case.
No, it's not, because I have spent the last 35 years of my life on campuses. Not all of them Catholic. The first few years was a secular school, the first 5 years after I got my PhD. But then I moved to a university in California, a Catholic university, in 1993, and I was there almost 15 years. It was a wonderful school, and when I got there, it was vibrantly Catholic, and students went to Mass, and there were faculty at Mass. I went to daily Mass, and all of a sudden, I was probably by the time I left, I was one of the only faculty that were at Mass in the mornings, and I saw it quietly erode. It was still a wonderful school, and I loved my colleagues, and the students were great, but somehow the Catholic identity was slipping away. And we had a Department of Gender Studies, and then we eventually had a gay club that was supposed to be a gay support club, but then that evolved into a club that had dances for gay students, and then now they have drag shows. But it's still a good school. I don't want anyone to think it's not a good university, but it wasn't going to be the kind of Catholic experience that I was looking for to teach. It became kind of lonely to be the only real, person that felt this way on campus. And so when the Franciscan University position opened up, and I have friends there, I'd always admired it. I made the switch, gave up tenure, and I'm so happy I did. My children had already grown up. We had lived in San Diego for, like I said, 15 years. My son finished high school there. So by then I could leave, and I'm just very happy I'm where I am now at Franciscan. And I guess that's one of the reasons I wrote the book.
Yeah, well, Steubenville was sort of a pioneer in this regard, or at least an early entrant into this new wave of, I don't know, what would you call them, Orthodox or neo-traditionalist?
Well, I should call them the faithful few, because there's not too many, less than 20 out of 230 that I would strongly suggest are still vibrantly Catholic. There are a lot of very good Catholic colleges and universities, but there's not a lot of them that are strongly faithful to the gospel and the magisterium and proudly proclaim that. And so what I've done in this book that I've written, A Lamp in the Darkness, because I believe these 14 schools, and I hate to say it's only 14. There are a few more that are sort of on the edges, but they provide the hope that we have, because my subtitle is How These Schools Will Help to Save the Church, because the graduates of these schools are amazing people. They're doing amazing things. Many of them have vocations. Many of them have vocations to parenthood, large families, raising children in the faith, working like the Franciscan. Our most popular major is theology and philosophy. And so, you don't major in that when you just want to make a lot of money, you know that. But our students really believe that their life is going to be devoted to the salvific mission of helping people get to heaven. And many of the founders of these schools have that as their goal. Franciscan is unique in this group because, it wasn't always the faithful Catholic university. Before Father Mike Scanlon, who revitalized the school was started back in 1950. So it was an old school, and it had become one of the premier party schools in the United States. And Father Mike Scanlon came to the campus as the president, and he was horrified at what was going on. Students weren't going to Mass. They were partying. There had been a couple of attempted suicides by the students. So in the 1960s and 70s, it was called the College of Steubenville. They didn't even call it, it was Franciscan, but they didn't call it a Franciscan school. Father Mike Scanlon turned it all around, and he started by beginning this system called households, in that they're small Catholic communities in the dorms, female ones and male ones, where students help each other to grow in holiness. It's as simple as that. They're not weirdos. I don't want you to think that, they live like hermits or, monks or something. They're still wonderful students, but they go to Mass together. They do projects together. Some of them will bake bread, Lenten bread sometimes. One group wears, one day a week, they all get together and they wear these jumpsuits that they're St. Joseph's community to show that they're like carpenters for Christ. It's just a great experience, a great bonding experience. And we have tremendous rates of retention because students are so bonded to each other and to the school. It's not a requirement. You don't have to go into a household. Father Mike, when he started the household system, it was a requirement. He mandated it. But now we have probably more than 60%, almost 70% of our students join households, and it really makes a difference.
This is something that interests me a great deal because Truth in Advertising here, I used to work for the Ave Maria Foundation, which of course is the driving spirit behind Ave Maria University. I was involved in the launching of the university down there. What other colleges would fall under this group?
Well, certainly Ave Maria. From the moment of its founding, your founder, Tom Monahan, he has pledged his life to help as many people as possible to get into heaven. I'm sure you know that.
Oh, yes, I've heard that many times.
Many times. And I'm on the board of Ave Maria University. And he is very fussy about who's on the board. And any new member would have to promise to go to Mass daily, to go to confession, not daily, thank goodness, and to pray the rosary. You have to pledge that you are going to be committed, totally committed to your Catholicism, or else he didn't really want you on the board. And I thought, wow, that's what makes the difference. He has committed people, because that's what I saw at the school I was teaching at, and I saw at other Catholic schools. See, I've been studying Catholic schools for about 20 years because I was bewildered about how a Catholic school, like Notre Dame even, could lose so much of its commitment to the faith. And so I've been studying this. I wrote a book about this 10 years ago called Status Envy because I came up with the idea that Catholic schools have this kind of inferiority complex, some of them, and they want to be like the big secular schools.
Right.
And so they're kind of embarrassed by their Catholic identity, and I saw that on the campus I was teaching at for 15 years. Increasingly, they became embarrassed by the idea, we have all these rules, and we're so weird, and we're not weird, we're Catholic, and we believe in what the Catholic Church teaches. But there was a certain embarrassment. And so I think that the sense by many of the faculty on these more secularized Catholic schools is that if we can get rid of this heavy Catholic identity and be like just a regular school, we'll have higher status. I wrote a whole book about that, and I didn't really want to write another book about that because it was kind of a depressing book. It was right after I left that university, and I was still kind of, I don't want to say bitter because I hope I'm never bitter, but I was unhappy. I didn't really want to leave San Diego. Nobody leaves San Diego and moves to Steubenville. You just don't usually do that. So I was not happy about it. And so the book reflected that. But now after spending here, I'm in my 12th year at Steubenville, at Franciscan, I'm so happy again. And I wanted to write a hopeful book that wasn't such a downer as my status envy book. So that's what Lamp in the Darkness is. It takes, from Matthew 5, men, you don't want to light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but you put it on a stand, and it gives light to all. And that's what I think these schools are. I think they give light to all. They give hope to all. They certainly give hope to me, because I had a total change about the church and my faith. And I think anybody who spends any time on any of these campuses, from Ave Maria to Franciscan to the University of Mary, I identify them and I tell the stories of their founding and the stories of the students who go there. It's not a sociology book. It's more of a story book about the people who are involved, the founders especially. We devote a whole chapter to Tom Monahan because he's such a special person, and Father Mike Scanlon. Those two, to me, really stand out. But then again, you have Christendom with that President Donnelly who just retired. He's amazing, just built the most gorgeous cathedral-looking chapel on campus, and that's the second one he built with donors' money, because they all want to be part of this revitalization of Catholic higher education. I want to tell everyone that this isn't as, if you read my first book, you might have think I'm kind of a Debbie Downer, because it was kind of a, I don't want to say mean-spirited, because it wasn't mean-spirited, but it was like chapter after chapter of, look at how bad these schools are, And I only had one chapter about the faithful few, and it's at the end of the book, and it was very surface treatment of it, because my goal was to expose all the bad ones. And I'm like, I don't want to do that again. But Tom Monahan asked me, he said, I think you should do a new version of your status envy. And I said, Tom, I don't want to visit that again. I don't want to catalog all the bad things that are happening on Catholic colleges. I have a chapter about some of the bad things in this new book, and I did that one pretty quickly. I just wanted to get it over with to show people that things are still kind of bad at some of these places, and they've gotten worse, but let's go on. Let's move on, and I'll show you all the good things and tell you the stories of the people who are doing wonderful things on these campuses.
Well, now, there is a challenge in this. When students are looking at schools, or when they go for a campus visit or an interview, or when parents start looking into the prospects for their children's higher education, if they focus on Catholic schools, more often than not, they'll hear wonderful things about how the school expresses the tradition of the Catholic founders, or that the school reflects a certain kind of Catholic spirit. How do you get beyond those marketing cliches and really discern whether this school is going to teach the faith? Can you offer some advice along that line?
Yes, because I've seen those tour groups on my old campus, and I know they go on at every campus. They bring them to the chapel and show them the beautiful statues, but the chapels are almost always empty. We're at Franciscan, we have a portiuncula where there's exposition of all day, 24 hours a day, and there's always students there. But parents need to really be discerning. The Cardinal Newman Society has a really wonderful guide that identifies many of the schools that I've put in this book. So that's a helpful resource for the faithful ones. But there are still other good schools that may not be part of that list. But to me, the most important part is the curriculum, the faculty. What is the percentage of Catholic faculty? What is the percentage of students who attend Mass, who participate in, do they offer things that enhance spirituality? Is there a rosary group on campus? Is there a pro-life group? Is there a strong influence of the gay and lesbian club? Because all of the Jesuit schools have gay and lesbian clubs that are very active and very social, and they're great people, but a lot of parents wouldn't want their child in a school that's going to have gay dances and a drag queen show, a drag show like a lot of the Jesuit schools are having. So those are the things you want to find out, because a lot of them are. And then find out who the speakers are, who their honorary degree recipients are each year. Some of the schools that I document used to be in the Newman Guide, like St. Mary's used to be a really strong Catholic school. They just had Mark Schreiber that, as the graduation, was, he's a 100% pro-choice speaker. So if you have lots of pro-choice speakers, or you give the Lekari Medal to Barack Obama or Joe Biden, as they did in Notre Dame. And Notre Dame just had a speaker this past year who calls himself an abortion doula. His name is Ash Williams, and he just gave a talk to students at Notre Dame. And he's a transgender man, but really a woman who's had 2 abortions himself or herself, and has a tattoo of abortion instruments, and helps women navigate the way to get abortions. And that was at Notre Dame just this past year. So I mentioned that in my book, because you don't really want your child exposed to that. Now, Notre Dame has amazing faculty, amazing, Catholic identity, but they also have that.
Right.
And there's ways to avoid it, but if your child is attracted to maybe gender studies when she goes to Notre Dame, that's who she's going to be meeting. And that would be my concern.
What are some schools that would be on your recommended list? I have a grandson who is attending Benedictine College in Atchison,
Kansas. Oh, that's right on our list. Yes, in Kansas.
What
a wonderful school. That is a fabulous school. Besides Ave and Franciscan, Belmont Abbey, Benedictine, Catholic University, Christendom. John Paul the Great is a small school out in San Diego, and it's funny, a lot of the people, it's a new school because it was started by a man who was inspired. He came to our campus and was praying before the Blessed Sacrament and got inspired to start a school, and he went out to San Diego and started it because he was from San Diego, and he was just happened to be on campus. That's a wonderful school if you're interested in media and making movies, because he works very closely with Hollywood and has a lot of his graduates trying to bring a Catholic perspective to Hollywood. Imagine that. There's Thomas Aquinas out in California. That's probably one of the most famous in that it's a very high-status school. It's always on the list of U.S. News and World Reports as one of the most academically challenging. They use an interesting way to... And then there's University of Dallas is great. The University of Mary. We spend a lot of time on that school. And that's in North Dakota, though. Not everybody wants to be in North Dakota, but it's a great school. It's really wonderful. So Wyoming Catholic is a new one. And that one, students don't even have cell phones because there's no service. They go out on horseback in the summertime. Yeah, it's an amazing school. I love their school. I get a lot of their literature. So there are a lot of good schools out there. Many of them are small, but not all of them. Catholic University is very big. I go into depth in this book about each one of them and interview some students, talk to some faculty, look at their policies, look at what they do. I mean, they do many of the same things, but like a nominally Catholic school will say, our commitment to social justice is what makes us Catholic. But they don't tell you that social justice for them means we're going to have Hoyas for choice on the Georgetown campus. They have a pro-choice club on some of these campuses. The University of San Diego has the law student reproductive lawyers. They advocate for reproductive choice and helping women navigate abortion. That's not social justice.
Where can people find out about the book?
Well, it'll be on Amazon. It's coming out November 19th, so I'm grateful for that. And it'll be at Amazon, but it also will be at Ave Maria University Press or Sophia.
A Lamp in the Darkness, How Faithful Catholic Colleges Are Helping to Save the Church. Anne Hendershot, thank you very much for being with us. This book certainly seems like something that would be extremely useful to people who are in the higher education market right now and looking to keep their faith.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be on.
Earlier generations of Catholic children were very much under the influence of religious sisters. Spending their parochial school days with nuns, they got to know these robed and hooded women as flesh and blood people, faithful perhaps, but not without their idiosyncrasies. That's less the case nowadays. With the educational balance tipped toward lay teachers, nuns may seem a bit mysterious, even exotic to many kids. Author Karen Kelly Boyce addresses that situation with a series of fun-filled children's books called Sisters of the Last Straw. These mysteries recount the madcap adventures of a group of misfit nuns, and they teach some important life lessons in the process. Karen, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay, give us the backstory. Is this the Black Sheep Convent or something? What makes these nuns so special?
Well, these nuns are people who wanted to be nuns, but who had such bad habits that they were rejected by normal convents and orders, so they formed their own order. They try to overcome all their bad habits. They struggle like most of us do with our bad habits. The big lesson is that they learn to live with each other and forgive each other for their, falling down.
Bad habits, of course, being a double meaning in this case. That's very cute. There are 9 books in the series to this point. You have more to come?
Oh, yes, I'm working on the 10th book. Just started the 10th book, which is going to be about miracles, mostly. Miracles that the nuns experience and finally realize that they are miracles.
What kinds of plots do you have here? You have some cute titles: The Case of the Haunted Chapel, The Case of the Missing Novice, The Case of the Stolen Rosaries. What goes on in these books?
Well, in these books, they solve little simple mysteries, like when their rosaries are being stolen and disappearing, when they think the chapel is haunted is the first book. I don't want to give away the simple plot, but children seem to love it and try to guess, what the answer is. I especially tried to write for children this age. There's not many books for children in the 7 to 12-year age.
Oh.
And I wanted them to, they love slapstick humor, so I put a lot of that in. They like to solve little riddles and mysteries.
Are these meant to be used in schools or individual reading on the parts of the kids? How do you see this material being applied?
I have a lot of little fans who, love to read them at home, and mothers who like to buy them for the children. I also have some teachers that contact me. And I, besides the books, I do teach a class on writing to the second graders, third graders. I have a PowerPoint class that I can zoom into the class wherever it is.
Yeah, you've written a number of things. Your work shows up in various Catholic publications. How did you hit on this idea?
Oh, well, that's the funny part. I had a Bible study with 5 women that lasted for 30 years. one night, one of the ladies was complaining about housework and such, and exclaimed that she should have been a nun. She would have been happier. And I looked around at the group of us, and we all had our bad habits, and I started to laugh. So I wrote the first short story about the sisters as a joke for my Bible study group, and it just grew from there. I wrote a book and self-published, and I got picked up by TAN Publishers. So it was all God's work, I guess.
Well, what's coming down the line? What will the sisters be up to in Book 10?
In Book 10, the sisters go on a trip to New Mexico, and they find the stairs in Santa Fe that are supposedly miraculous and built by the nuns who lived there, had prayed that their chapel was falling apart, and a man appeared at the door and, did carpentry work and built these beautiful spiral stairs without a single nail in them. Engineers still go to look at them. They can't figure it out. That's the miracle the sisters go to see. But along the way, they have little miracles of their own. And the mystery is one of the sisters who always gets lost, and they have to find this sister.
Yeah, that stairway is a real thing. I've seen photographs of that. It's quite a marvel.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go out and see it myself.
Well, these are available from TAN Books, I assume. They're in general distribution. You can get them on Amazon, or where can they be found?
They can be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble online, and from TAN Books.
Karen Kelly Boyce. The books are The Sisters of the Last Straw. Sounds like a fun concept. I'm going to have to track them down and read some of them. Maybe my granddaughter would be interested in them. She's in that age group. Thanks very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me in.
Please let me know what you think about these shows. Tell me what books you're reading, what media you follow, what sort of music communicates with your soul. Email me with your thoughts, Bill Kassel at sbcglobal.net. Be with us next time when we explore other aspects of religious communication and look deeper into the great Christian heritage of free expression. Free Expression with Bill Kassel is a production of Good Shepherd Catholic Radio and Company Publications, where good books, good music, and good radio are always good company. Dan Curris provided technical assistance. Theme and incidental music are by Dan Adam. The program was produced and directed by Bill Kassel. This is Good Shepherd Catholic Radio.